And now on to the Night of Champions preview. Questions about this show. And joining me are Scott E. Wrestling, host of the 5-Star Joshi Show, exclusive to our Patreon. And then Larry Caution, who's a friend of the show. And I'll let Larry talk about all the stuff that he's doing at the end here when we get to the plugs. But Larry, welcome back.
Glad to be back. Good evening, everybody. This is such a pleasure, and exciting weekend of wrestling. Should be fun.
And I just want to let people know, Scott is a diehard Joshi fan, but he doesn't just talk about Joshi. Scott can talk about just about anything. So I know you're putting it out there, Scott, that if anybody needs, wants any guests or whatever to throw your name in the hat there. So I'm doing that for you right now.
Thank you.
Throw Scott's name out there if you want some, because Scott watches. I mean, Scott even watches Impact, and like that's where a lot of people draw the line, and not Scott, man.
Yeah. I keep my tabs. I got some good things.
Okay, let's talk about this show, Night of Champions. WWE running Saturday morning on the West Coast, Saturday afternoon lunchtime on the East Coast there, and a pretty good show, I would say, on paper. I think, two giant main events that are very intriguing, and we'll get to some of that here in a second. But, I guess I do want to start, Larry, with those two main events. What's the actual main event for you? What's the match that you just want to see a little bit more than the others on this show?
I mean, you have to go with Cody and Brock. For me personally, of course, I have a connection with Cody Rhodes, great guy. Want to see him do well. I think that putting him in a position where WrestleMania, we all expected, like, come on, that was the end. That should have been the culmination. That was the time to crown him as champion.
Yeah.
Okay, we've gone past that. We've come to the realization that they decided to kick the can down the road, extend the story out. So we go to Backlash. Atmosphere is great. Main event, Brock versus Cody, and they didn't have a stipulation. And it made me think, and it made everybody who, clued in think, okay, clearly this is probably going to be match one,
right,
of some types of series, because you don't just put these two in a regular match. So then when the rematch was announced after the flash pin, after Brock basically had Cody beaten, Cody gets away with a quick victory. I was expecting some type of stipulation, maybe some type of street fight. So they've been advertising this as a fight. I know there's no title on the line, but all signs indicate that Cody is not going to go after this world heavyweight title. He's going to go after Roman's championship.
Yep.
And to me, if you want to solidify him as that guy, of course you build the sympathy on him with the injury. But Cody wins this match on Sunday. I'm looking forward to it. Of course, he'll sell like he did in the Seth Rollins Hell in a Cell match last year. I think it'll be entertaining. Cody is a great babyface in peril. I think he's going to be well suited for a good victory on Saturday. So this is the match I'm most looking forward to.
Before we get to Scott's thoughts about what the true main event is, you mentioned, and we all were talking about it heading into WrestleMania, that Cody should win. It's time, and they pushed it out further. I don't know whether it's the 1,000 days thing. That's Paul Fontaine had sort of circled that like months and months and months ago, but he's not even defending the title on this show. So they haven't really brought it back up that much. But what are your thoughts on this post WrestleMania thing? Because my worry, I had two worries. One, my worry was that he does win the title, and then there's a little bit of a bloom off the rose, because as we all know, it's kind of hard for a babyface to be champion and to keep that, to keep that heat. But the second thing was, if he didn't win, how do they bring him back? The fans have been reacting very well to him, and I didn't know if that was going to happen. So kudos to WWE for reading that correctly. But what do you think about this post-Mania Cody story? Is it good enough to where you're kind of like, okay, maybe I'm okay with WrestleMania, or do you still feel like WrestleMania should have been the time?
Well, for the time that when it happened, I'm not going to go back and litigate that. It was the time, in my opinion, at that time, and that's how I felt. But moving forward, I think they've done a pretty good job as a result of the decision they made. At the end of the day, they decided that they wanted to build Cody up a little bit more. Maybe this would have happened previously if he hadn't gotten hurt last year and missed so much time. So maybe they felt like they wanted to, they have a hot hand, let's milk it. I know the argument. He could do the same thing defending the title as champion.
Yeah,
I agree. But sometimes, like, as we know, watching wrestling all the years we have, the chase is always gets more heat than actually when you actually climb to the top of the mountain. And I know everybody said, well, if he wins, then what? Of course, you can do some creative things that make it work. But I think what they've done right now is try to milk this thing for all it's worth. And you got Brock working a lot more dates and a lot more consistent than you've ever had Brock work. When the last time we seen Brock on every pay-per-view? Like this is crazy. So clearly they've done something, some type of deal to try to appease Brock, make him okay with not being a winner every time out. I think they're doing a good job putting Cody over. So I've been pleased with it.
All right, Scott, is this also you feel the main event, or do you think Roman being in the tag makes that the actual main event of this show?
I think this should be out of the two. However, having the World Heavyweight Championship automatically not in the main event couldn't make it more second rate if they tried. Like, I know it's like the second title already to Roman, but I think
you're talking about Seth and AJ.
Yeah, Seth and AJ. Like, I feel like that already not hitting the main event tells you all you need to know, because I don't think it's going to. I think they'll have Cody and Brock main event because that is the best built match in my opinion, despite, Sammy, Kevin, and Roman being, a feud for months now. I'm intrigued by the tag. That being said, I think it's going to be a really good match, and it's going to give Solo Sikoa his biggest spot yet. It's a sink or swim type thing for him, and I think he'll do just fine because, you have great workers, obviously, in Kevin and Sammy who are going to make him look like $1 million. But now I ask myself, how do you book this match? Is it the Usos, screwing Roman and Solo? Is it just Kevin and Sammy escaping, or do we just crown new champions and Roman has 4 belts? Which, the image alone, I almost kind of want to happen. But
actually, that's a great question for what we're doing on this. Why don't we save that for the end? Because I would like to get both of your thoughts on the creative aspect of what you would like to see happen.
Okay.
So before we get there, as an actual wrestling match, so we are all fans of the in-ring. We are all fans of the art of wrestling. In addition to the business, we want to see them, book for fans and fan interest. But as a pure wrestling match, if you look at this Night of Champions card, what is the match that you are most looking forward to in the ring? And Larry, we'll start with you.
Oh, no question for me is Seth Rollins and AJ Styles. I've been an AJ guy all the way back to TNA, just following his career. Of course, I don't think that he's been as great as time. I think he's held back a bit in WWE at times. Had some great performances here and there, but I think that he hasn't unlocked his full potential, and that could be due to age. That could be just pulling back a little bit. His injuries counts have piled up on him. But Seth Rollins, to me, is at the top of his game. I know a lot of people get annoyed with his character and all that. I can look past all that. I don't care. In the ring, when the bell rings, the guy, to me, is one of the best performers they have on the roster. And if they really want to go out there and put on a great match that could be on the level of anything you'll see in any other organization in the world, if they really wanted to, those two are the guys I'm putting out there to do it. So I just want to see how far they will go, how the fans will respond. Because remember, you're in Saudi Arabia, you're not in Chicago, you're not in a city where the fans are very much knowledgeable of every little thing. But those fans over there, they enjoy the show. They enjoy what's going on, and they usually get a pretty good fan reaction. So I want to see if is the crowd going to be into the match. Will they be singing Seth's song? Will it be what will the atmosphere be? But in bell to bell, I think this is the one is for me that I think can really be the show stealer. And of course, it's for the world title. It should be one of the best matches.
All right. Does the fact that it really, really feels like from the beginning that Seth was going to win this, and AJ is there to have the great match and maybe not win it. Does that hurt it a little bit? Just the feeling that at least we think we know who's supposed to win this match?
Not for me, but again, I'm one of those people. I like having knowledge. I like looking into ahead and things making sense. I don't want you to just shock me for the sense of shocking me.
Mm-hmm.
So for any match, I want to know where the plan is. What makes the most sense? And there's no reason in the world AJ Styles should win this match, and I don't think they should make any changes to make that happen. First of all, AJ's on SmackDown, Seth's on Raw. Seth has been built up and he's really been given the shine to be that guy. So if you're going to crown your first champion, you put the belt on somebody who can carry it, who's going to make it mean something, and who's going to go out there every week and make sure that championship is the workers' champion. I think don't be trying to be cute and shock anybody. Let's just put the title on the guy and have a great match and move on. Who's next?
All right, Scott, same question for you. What's the match you're most looking forward to from an in-ring perspective?
Yeah, it's Seth and AJ. I have said a few times now that I think this is the best Seth has been since pre-injury, dating back to when he did the sunset powerbomb on Kane and ruined his knee.
Oh
Yeah. Like I'm going that far back. I think this is the best he's been since then. He just has the energy that follows him, right? In ring, he looked phenomenal. That goes without saying. He's looked phenomenal for a long time. And I'm with Larry. I think, just putting AJ in that match is a good thing because AJ is a professional. He's one of the best, right? And I think this is kind of a prove it spot for AJ in a lot of ways, right? It's been a long. I had a conversation with someone the other day. What's the last great AJ Styles?
Exactly. We've seen some disappointing ones. Nakamura, WrestleMania. Like he's had the opportunity and not always come through. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, so I think this is a prove it spot for him. Not that he needs to prove his legacy or anything, but more of a I'm still AJ Styles situation. And it's a Seth rising to the occasion, winning the title finally, and getting to be a top guy, not just on the posters, but with a title that he can now make his own, which I think he's the right person to do that with.
I agree with you on that because that's a good point about the AJ Styles because we look at the parallels with his peers right now. Look over at AEW. Those guys are allowed to go out there and perform at the highest level and cut loose. And we know what AJ was doing in New Japan. We know what AJ was doing in TNA. And for some reason, I feel like at times he's had certain handcuffs on him in WWE. I wonder if he sat at home with that injury for a few months, watching the landscape and like, I'm ready to get back and show that life hasn't passed me by. I can get out there and still perform at the high level. I'm excited for
it. That is a very interesting question because I look at Seth Rollins as somebody who has mastered what people would call the WWE style.
Mm-hmm.
Like he is still like you can see the patterns, when certain things are coming, but he is so good and he has athleticism. It's still at such a high level that he just makes it work.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder about AJ because I think AJ was kind of in that realm as well. You remember those matches with John Cena. Now, every match is sort of built around the phenomenal forearm or the calf crusher. And so he had gotten into some repetitions as well, but it is partially that style. Now, how much of that is also, my guy's like in his mid-40s now, right? So that could be something as well. Because I was thinking about that because I saw him the other night, and I don't think he looks any older than he has, but it made me realize like we've been watching this guy for a long time, like, and he is over 40, whereas Seth, I don't think Seth is probably in his mid-30s, maybe mid to late 30s, but he still feels like he's in his prime, whereas AJ feels like he's probably on the other side of it ever so slightly. All right, mine, by the way, I agree with both of you, but the one that I'm most interested in, and some of this will relate to my next question to you guys, is Bianca and Asuka, because I still think, like, I thought their WrestleMania match was good, pretty good, and I think they have a better one. I just don't know if that better one is this weekend. But that leads me to my next question, which is, why does it feel like the women's programs are stalling in WWE? And the reason why I ask that is because the talent, I'm not sure if the talent's ever been higher with the top of the food chain ladies. Now, Charlotte's not on this show, but if she was, you would add her right into the mix. They brought Trish back as a heel. That part of her personality is not really working with me because I watch her on social media in real life and it doesn't fit really what she's showing me on TV. But I feel like, Rhea and Natalya, okay, that I know that's there. So Rhea can get another impressive win. Becky and Trish, that program hasn't really gotten out of second gear, really. And then Bianca and Asuka, as good of a match that is, it does feel like it's kind of like the creative has been very, very tried and true formula for Asuka. And I don't think that it should have been. I think that, they should have thrown some of their best writers or their best angles or whatever at that program. It just feels like it's a little undervalued on this show. Now, some of it may be that there's, maybe they want to save the one for SummerSlam or whatever, but I'll go with you, Scott. Why do you think it feels that these women's matches are a little less important than they maybe should be?
Yeah, I think that has kind of been the trend of Bianca's reign overall is, good matches, but not so hot stories. And I wonder if they're just so focused, right, on the Cody and the bloodline stuff that everything just takes a back seat. Like, even if you think about the AJ Seth match that we just talked about, it's not a story. Like the Seth's part of this, it is obviously great. I like the interview stuff that they were doing on Raw. But the AJ side was like 3 different things going on at once. He has Karrion Kross, Grayson Waller, and AJ and Seth Rollins to worry about. So I wonder if it's that they're just so focused on, the bloodline stuff and other stories that they're just not giving these the time to breathe, right? Truthfully, I think they got lucky with Bianca and Io being as great as it was at Backlash. Was it Backlash? It was Backlash. I almost called it WrestleMania Backlash. Because that I think helps Io's story long term now. And maybe Bianca's become a little flat for people. But I don't think it's her fault. She doesn't have the stories to be anything else. This Asuka story is just following the previous Asuka story, except now she's using chili powder mist.
Silly.
It's just upsetting. It's upsetting and lazy, and I just don't think they're caring enough about it. I know the match is going to be great. They're both great. But sometimes it's more than just the match. And these women haven't been given that opportunity for a lot of the Triple H run, I think, too.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think they got handed something and didn't pick the ball up. When that match with Io and Bianca at Backlash had heat, I know it had a lot to do with where they were at, but you could have played off that story. And the natural thing to do, I know that, some injury issues that went on in the division, it derailed a few plans with the tag team titles and things of that nature. But Io should have split it off from that. Stayed in a program with Bianca. You could insert Asuka into that, have those two interplay. It was multiple things you could have done with this, but to just bring Asuka back after a month away and make Bianca look so foolish, overselling that miss to the face, that just, to me, it cut all the credibility out of everything that Bianca had been building up. And then the next week, she just no-sells it like nothing happened.
Well, yeah, they kind of screwed it, or Asuka maybe didn't have enough of it, so it didn't really reach her. So she was like, am I supposed to sell this even though it only really got on my jacket? Like, what am I supposed to do?
It just was silly. And I just think that was one of those moments. It goes back to, we can all recount the succotash moment with Roman Reigns. You can recount those things where when Seth Rollins is crying and quivering in fear to Bray Wyatt, you know what I mean, to the Fiend. Like, You don't do that. If you're going to build Hulk Hogan, you got to let Hulk be Hulk. And if Bianca's going to be Superman, you can't do that. So to me, it cut her legs from her. They're holding back too much. Okay, you know the programs that people want to see. Is Charlotte going to face Bianca? Mm-hmm. If you're going to do it, start planting the seeds. I get it. This whole Rhea Ripley and Natty, that's just something to do. We all understand that. But there needs to be an overarching build to these big matchups that we're missing on a continuation basis. And right now, it just feels like fodder. And that's the problem. And then that makes the reign not seem as important because there's no connective tissue between the big stuff from month to month. So they everything's being stretched out. Well, we need to hold that off till SummerSlam. So why are you throwing Trish and Becky on this?
Yeah.
Right now, if that's the big match for SummerSlam, why not a tag match? Why not something that, you know what I mean? It just feels like it's too much. Well, we got our overarching stuff. Now let's just fill out the card. And that can work in 1995, but not today. Everything has to have meaning if you're going to put it on a premium live event. So,
no, yeah, it's a great point. If there is a sleeper match, now, as far as I know, there's only 7 matches announced. Maybe something else comes out. But the 7 matches, we've talked about every single one of them, except for Gunther and Mustafa Ali. Is there a sleeper match that you think will over-deliver? Because we've talked about these women's matches. Now, give credit where credit's due. 3 women's matches on Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia. I feel like only like 2 years ago, these women were wrestling in like overshirts, right? And they didn't really want to put. So I'm not saying that this is anything Saudi Arabia is doing, but maybe WWE kind of like saying, hey, we need to actually have our product here on these shows if we're going to do this right. But Larry, what is the sleepery match for you that, you know, maybe will outkick its coverage here?
I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily a sleeper because I haven't got a chance to talk about the tag team title match. Because to me, like I say, I Cody and Brock is the match I'm looking forward to. Anytime Roman's in a big match like this, to me, he just gets so much heat that this match could really be a big one. But Gunther and Mustafa Ali, I don't know if they let Gunther do what Gunther wants to do. You know, Gunther like to sell. He likes to let the little guy have a lot of shine. If they allow him to have a little time, it could be good. But I just have a feeling, you know, who's back and has got his hands in the pot. He's going to let Gunther go out there and just smash Mustafa Ali. So, but if they allowed them to have a little time, these two could put on a show. I mean, we've seen what Gunther's done with Tyler Bate and different guys at NXT or over in Europe. So I think this could really be a great match if they're allowed to really go out there and work.
I just wish they treated Ali a little bit more seriously in the build. Like when he got the match, it was even sort of a joke that he got the match. And then that's the hard part. I mean, not everybody, you can't treat everybody like a superstar, but at least if someone's going to get a title shot, you can change their momentum a little bit and make them on a little bit on a roll, which makes me believe that this may have been like kind of like a last minute thing. They didn't build him up at all for this. So Scott, what about you?
I'm going to go with Bianca and Asuka. I think they just have the ability to steal the show, right? We know what they're made of. We know what they're about. The other, you know, they're presenting it as a triple main event between the Seth and AJ and the tag and Brock and Cody. So it's almost like, all right, pick from
from everything else.
pick from the rest. And the only fear I have with Gunther and Mustafa Ali is Mustafa Ali doesn't get much time to actually wrestle.
Yeah,
and he gets chopped into oblivion. Which, you know, might work too.
I mean, I hope he gets something out of this, right? Like if you come back to Raw on Monday, I hope he gets something out of it. Because if they just shove him aside and they go, okay, you're going back to being goofy, then we know for a fact that they didn't have any idea to build him up in any way.
I think that's what they're doing because it looks like they're building to Gunther and Riddle more than anything else. So I fear for Ali that, you know, he'll just be back to being positively Ali or whatever his new nickname is. But I think Bianca and Asuka, give him 10, 15 minutes and just go out there and wrestle a great match, I know that they can do that, and I think they can at least have a better match than WrestleMania, which I did think was good
It's
as
a good
is.
match. Mhm.
But this feels like the premier women's match on this show in terms of getting the most time. I know beyond, Becky and Trish are like the big name match, but I feel like this one, if you're looking for that work rate side of things, it should be those two. And I think I think Bianca's going out there, especially after that EO match, ready to keep proving, people wrong, maybe because people don't want to see her as champion anymore, but it'll work.
The one thing I'll mention about Rhea and Natty is Natty can be really, really good at getting somebody over. As a and Rhea's already a beast. She doesn't need much help. But I always go back to that, and this now we're going back to like 2014 or something. So that's a little while ago for Natty to dial it back that far. But that NXT Charlotte match that she had, where she kind of made Charlotte, and if you watch that match with the right eyes, you're like, Charlotte's a great athlete, but this entire match is Natty. And so she has that ability. She may not have that athleticism anymore, but I still think, her role is to make Rhea look really, really good. So I think she's going to do that job. She's like, what's interesting is the Zelina match in Puerto Rico. The story was a little different in that home, that was her home base and her, the pride of her nation. And so she's got a lot of sympathy. Rhea sold a little bit, but she still pretty much devastatingly beat her. And here, I think they can have a little bit more of a realistic back and forth. But then, because Rhea is just the new big bad, then she overcomes and dominates Natty like we haven't seen Natty dominated in a while or something like that. But I have faith that because Natty has such a sound, she's such a sound worker.
Yeah.
She's not extraordinary. She's not the best, but she knows the fundamentals. And also, when it comes to the crowd perspective, I think it'll be really good. But again, it is a semi squash match, but I'm glad Natty is in there because I think it'll be better because she's in there. Okay.
I think with a lot of these matches, though, it's about placement on the card and crowd reaction, because we know, look, if you go back over the last year of these premium live events and you look at the best cards, it's the atmosphere that really elevates the show. Like when they go to these different various locations and the crowd is really into it, the match could be okay, but the crowd can elevate it to being really good or memorable. So if they stick, there's 3 women matches, so they're going to spread them out throughout the show, hopefully, and we'll see how the crowd reacts. And if they don't treat those matches as important, that could take down the actual how we feel about the matches overall. So hopefully it's a good crowd. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, so you were talking about match placement. That is actually my next question. Is, like Scott said, there are 3 matches that stand out a little bit above the rest. And if you want to add a fourth, I think Bianca Asuka does stand out more than the other 3 after that. How would you place these matches? Because I don't think they're just going to go back to back to back with AJ Seth, Roman tag, and then Cody and Brock. One of these is probably going to open. How would you guys? I know Roman has always said, or at least we've been told that he either likes to close or he likes to open. And if that is the case, then maybe you do have this tag match open the show. But I don't know, man. I think I don't know what the fans are going to be more excited about, Cody and Brock or Roman in a tag. Just that story is still working for me. But Larry, what would you do with your match order with the main event and where you're going to sprinkle in these other big matches?
Well, I look at it more like from the company perspective as well. You're having a premium live event on a Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 1 o'clock. What is it? It's 9 a.m. out there?
I think it's 10 a.m.
10 a.m. out in the West Coast.
And you know why I know that? Because I'll be in Vegas. People listening to this now, I will already be out there more than likely. But Dave and Brian are doing a Q&A, And Dave's biggest worry is about being able to watch the show after the Q&A. So it's soon thereafter, and we'll start watching it late from wherever we get to watch it from.
Yeah, so you want people to tune in and not miss a big match, but you also want to have a reason why at 1 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, people feel like they need to be watching the television. So to me, Brock either wants to close the show or he wants to open it and get the hell out of there. That is traditionally how Brock is. So if I'm booking the show, I'm starting the fight hot. I'm going Brock and Cody, the opener. That's my opener. I'm putting this tag team match in the middle, and I'm closing the show with AJ and Seth. That's and crown a new champion to go off the air. I think that's a good way to split all three up. And I will splice in a Gunther and the 3 women's matches throughout. But I'm putting Brock and Cody at the start. Get Cody a big win. Or if you decide you want Brock to win, and Cody loses, hey, at least you got it out the way early. By the end of the show, you send the fans home happy. But that doesn't close the show with a sour taste in people's mouths. If you decide that you want Brock to win match 2 and you're going to set up a rubber match. That's my thought.
Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, so I think I would put the tag in the middle, no matter what. I think for me, having Roman in the middle of the show will control people's interests. Because it'll be like, all right, I'm here for Roman, and then this is going later. I don't, maybe if he's the main event, people don't tune in until the main event too. I think that's also a possibility because there's just some people who only care about Roman Reigns.
That's true.
And then there's the question of, does Brock want to get out of there as soon as possible, or is he willing to wait around? I think that's really what probably decides the main event on Saturday more than what they actually prefer. I would agree with Larry. I think the world heavyweight title should main event because, again, you're trying to establish a world championship, not a tag or a special singles match, right? Yep. And I think that's the best way to do it. I think Brock and Cody opening the show hot, because the doubt leaving Raw was, can Cody even wrestle? Why wait? Just start it off hot, have Cody win that match, and then I think you're really going from there on out. If you have a hot start, but if you don't want the world title match main eventing the show, I'd rather it open than be stuck in the middle.
And another thing, the show is called Night of Champions.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, come on, close the show with the championship match.
Yeah. Maybe they let Brock borrow the BMF championship for the night, and he's got to put that on the line. Who's supposed to fight for that in UFC? Didn't Dana
Poirier
just put that championship back on a future match so that they actually had a title match on a show?
He did. Yeah. I think it's Poirier and
is it Chandler?
Gaethje?
No, you're right. You're right.
Well, that's worthy of
it. Yeah. Are they going to get The Rock back on that show, though? That's the big question. Because my guy, I don't think I'm spoiling anything here, but my guy was in the end credit scenes for Fast and Furious. So he's back somewhat, I guess, with the Fast and Furious franchise. All right. I agree with both of you that I personally, I want to see Cody and Brock last because that feels the most important. But you cannot put that last and have a world title match right in front of it. You can't have Seth and AJ and then Cody and Brock. So you may be able to flip flop those and then put Roman on first, or do what you guys said and put Cody and Brock on first. But I think that's interesting.
But there is one caveat, and I know WWE hasn't done this, but AEW has. What if Cody isn't technically cleared and is unsanctioned, lights out type of match?
Yeah,
so
you could do that.
This happens after the show or whatever. You know what I mean? Like
That's
maybe
true.
you say, okay, you want to fight him, but we will not be sanctioning this. So after the official show is over, I know Ring of Honor did that years ago. And now Cody and Brock will go out there and y'all can have it, but this will not be a sanctioned. It's an unsanctioned match. So they could do that, but I don't know if that's they're thinking right now.
Yeah. And then you can have Sabu show up in that match too.
Stop! No. Oh my goodness, I cringe so bad. Oh my God.
Okay, this is the last question. And this is not about Cody and Brock, and it's not about AJ and Seth. It is about Roman Reigns. There are some theories about what could happen in this match. I think Scott kind of set it up earlier. You could have Roman hold all the belts, and he and Solo win this match.
I think that'd be fun.
You could have Solo lose the match for them, and they were teasing, Roman and Solo kind of shoulder bumped each other, and Roman looked a little worried about that the other night. Or, if you want to set up your next world title program, you could have one of Sammy or KO pin Roman to win this match. When I asked John LaRocca this on the Fight Game podcast last week, he said, all of that, and then we're going to have him lose in a tag match? What the hell? So, but those are the three things. How is this match going to happen because there's something either way, all three ways, something happens. It is meaningful. But what is the one that you choose? Scott, why don't you go first?
Brothers screw the brother. I think that's the one I choose. Usos accidentally screwing Solo, or maybe purposefully. I think that would be more interesting. Maybe it looks like an accident, but it actually was on purpose. Because to me, the way they've created this story is I know Cody has to be the payoff, as he should, but like Jey Uso feels like a payoff in some way, shape, or form in the end of the story, and it's felt like that since day one. I like the idea.
I want to fight Roman for that guy. That's
me
how
too.
I feel.
And that's the beauty of the story. I just don't know what the payoff will be. I think Roman and Solo versus the Usos is a huge match. No matter how you slice it, doesn't need titles to be a big match. You can have the tag titles away. I think Kevin and Sammy benefit from getting away from the Usos, from the bloodline long term, because I thought they were done with them. I thought they were done with them at WrestleMania. Silly me. We're here a few months later. I think that's the way I would go. Have the Usos. Maybe Jey Uso finally stands up for Sami Zayn and Kevin. Maybe accidentally, in quotes.
Yeah,
Larry.
I definitely go with Sammy and Kevin winning. I think Sammy has to pin Roman. I think that is the conclusion, but it's not going to happen. I think Solo's getting pinned. The thing I like about the story, and I know people feel like, oh, they stretching it out. The thing I like about it is if you go all the way back to the beginning, it started with Roman and his two cousins, and Solo came in as the heavy, as the help, and now Solo's being built up. I get it. It's taken a while. Don't get me wrong. It's been stretched out, but in theory, we want to see will Jay and Jimmy finally stand up. I don't want them to look like doofuses. Like you said, I like your idea of purposely costing them the match. I don't want to be another accident. It should be a oops, but give the wink at the camera type of deal. You know what I mean? That's the way to do it. And then keep Sammy and Kevin as tag champs so they can go from brand to brand. You need those to still be able to go on SmackDown, still be on Raw, just with a star power, because Sammy's still the hot hand. But Roman and Solo can reside on SmackDown with no issue. That storyline is strong enough over there. And I think Raw has done a good job building up his brand enough where they don't need the bloodline on Raw every week. So I agree with you 1,000%. The Usos should do something to cost them the match, but make it purposeful and give a wink to the camera so that we're in on it. And then we can go from that, because Roman, remember, he dedicated this to the greatest tag team of all time. Got the Wild Samoans. I'm like, God, come on, man. So, and that should even be another wrinkle to the story. Maybe you have Alpha and Seeker come out, and they have a tribal type of sit down with the crew. That could be a whole nother segment on a TV show. There's so many ways they can go with this. But I definitely have Sammy and Kevin retain.
I'll say it's worth just noting how they've created new challengers for Sammy and Kevin too on Raw with the Judgment Day and Imperium. It would be silly not to go back to those. Like isn't it Finn and Priest that pinned that beat them? So like that feels like a pay-per-view match that you can do, because obviously Judgment Day, they're still pretty they're still pretty over as heels, but
pretty weird that the Judgment Day not on this card other
Yeah.
than Rhea. Yeah,
I was thinking the same thing.
They pretty hot.
I
you
mean,
know what
they may also get involved in this. I think it's possible.
That's true.
True. Imperium too.
All right, no, this is great. I love looking at the shows in this way. I like looking at it match by match too, but I think you kind of get a little bit deeper into thought on things when you ask some questions about the show. But before we get out of here, so Scott, 5-Star Joshi show, the newest one just went up on the Patreon. I know we got some clips from that show on YouTube as well. What else do you want to promote?
What else do I want to promote? That's a good question. I'm going to be covering that show. The Stardom has a pay-per-view this weekend, Flashing Champions. Yep, so I'll be covering that in full somewhere in the midst of Night of Champions and Double or Nothing and Under Siege and whatever other pay-per-views are possible. Best of Super Juniors final, everything's happening this weekend. Yeah. I'm going to try to cover that and make that stand out a little bit. Haven't decided if I'm going to do a review or live or just recorded, but keep an eye out for that. And then keep an eye out for all the other content I'm doing. I have some interviews coming up, so those
you can follow him at Scott, the letter E, and Wrestling on Twitter to find out everything that he's doing. All right, what about you, Larry?
I'm not really doing a lot with wrestling right now. Would love to, but right now Survivor just wrapped last night, so I've been deep into Survivor season. Rob has a podcast. If you're not a subscriber, check us out. A lot of content. We review all types of reality TV shows and everything from wrestling. They do have a wrestling wrap up on the weekends. So, yeah, check us out, man. I do a lot of producer work for them, so I've been enjoying that for the last few years. Other than that, football season is off right now, so I've been just living life. So,
and I saw, is it season 25 of Big Brother coming up this summer?
Yep, August 2nd, it'll be back. They pushed it because of this writer's strike, so they pushed it back to start in August this year. So you'll have the Challenge USA returning for season 2, and Big Brother season 25. There's been some rumors about could be another All-Star season.
Oh wow,
we'll see how that goes. But it's going to be a bunch of reality shows popping up over the next few months because of this writer's strike. This is heaven for me. You know what I mean? That's what I do. This is what I cover. So I love it.
All right, fellas. Thank you for joining.